This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Curaleaf, one of the nation's fastest growing multi-state cannabis operators with 45 local dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 11 processing facilities, serving up more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Learn more about Curaleaf over at curaleaf.com, with Curaleaf spelled C-U-R-A-L-E-A-F. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, June 19th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 746 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day off in New York State, where today marks the scheduled end of this year's legislative session. As we've covered this week and in recent weeks, there's been a push to pass a bill legalizing adult use marijuana, but different forms of opposition have so far prevented any bill from getting through the state Senate and Assembly. Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moments picked up on a newly revised bill that could actually get a vote on Friday, 2 days after the official close of the session. New York Senator Liz Krueger, one of the drivers behind the push to legalize marijuana in the state, said yesterday, quote, "It's very promising. Everyone has their things that they want, so I'm going to say it's a moving target, and we keep pushing," unquote. Swing over to Kyle's story for more on this, and keep watching this storyline because it doesn't appear to be dead quite yet. Minnesota's Star Tribune has a really important story up that speaks to the ever-existing friction between the push for legal marijuana and hemp and the continuing federal illegality of the plant. Industrial hemp farmer Luis Hummel is facing felony drug charges because CBD oil produced from his crops have more than the allowable amount of THC. Generally, industrial hemp has to have less than 0.3% THC to be legal, and the oils seized and tested by police from Mr. Hummel's crop had north of 3% THC. That's because oil is a concentrated product, so you might start with a batch of hemp measured at less than 0.3% THC that gets concentrated down to north of 3%. That is still a very, very low amount of THC, but because it's above a threshold set by law, Mr. Hummel has now been charged with felony drug crimes. That's ridiculous. Read this one, share this one. Our final top story today brings us out to New Hampshire, where the Associated Press is reporting that Republican Governor Chris Sununu has been sent a number of bills passed by the legislature expanding the state's medical marijuana program. Governor Sununu is a prohibitionist and has vowed to veto any progressive adult use bills, but he isn't quite so terrible on medical marijuana, so there's hope that the bills will pass into law. If signed, the new legislation would allow medical marijuana patients and caregivers to grow cannabis at home and would also allow physician assistants to become recommending medical marijuana agents. New Hampshire is fairly surrounded now by legal states in Canada, so thankfully there's ever-building peer pressure to drop prohibition. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's fastest-growing multi-state cannabis operators. With 44 local dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 11 processing facilities, serving up more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Curaleaf is proud to be supporting the Veterans Cannabis Project, the leading organization that advocates for unrestricted and supported access of medical marijuana for military veteran patients. Curaleaf has launched a nationwide initiative with the Veterans Cannabis Project to raise awareness of the issue and funds for this vital cause. Swing over to curaleaf.com and find the link for the Veterans Cannabis Project under About Us. Then swing over to vetscp.org directly to learn more about this very cool organization. That's curaleaf.com and vetscp.org. All right, time for the Blitz. Martha Stewart, who got into the legal marijuana game earlier this year with an announced partnership with Canadian giant Canopy Growth, just spoke at the World Cannabis Congress held up in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, and said that the secret to her success was to sell quality products at fair prices. Not very groundbreaking stuff, I admit. I just think it's awesome that Martha Stewart is now in legal cannabis. Yesterday, the Federal Aviation Administration issued guidelines for licensed airline pilots on the consumption of CBD that recommended the avoidance of commercially available products due to the dangers of accidentally ingesting THC. Dr. Michael Berry of the FAA's Federal Air Surgeon's Office wrote an advisory that talked about the difference between the FDA-approved CBD product Epidiolex, which is guaranteed to not contain THC, and commercially available CBD products, which very much could contain THC, as we saw in today's second top story. High Times Holding Corporation, the corporate owners of High Times Magazine and the Cannabis Cup series, is being sued by Southland Publishing, owners of industry-themed Culture magazine, for the $4 million in cash owed to it as part of a deal announced last year for High Times to acquire Culture. The acquisition deal was structured so that High Times would pay the cash in December, but Southland Publishing said that this has not happened yet. A representative from High Times Holdings said the company does not comment on legal matters. Mr. Tom Angel over Marijuana Moment has a fantastic roundup of the work done yesterday in the U.S. House of Representatives Rules Committee, which considered a large number of proposed marijuana-related bills, which Tom has nicely organized and detailed. One of the measures passed out of the committee and sent on to the entire House was a bill preventing the Department of Justice from going after state legal adult use businesses, just as they are now blocked from going after medical marijuana. More than a dozen bills in all were worked on yesterday, so I'd recommend opening up Tom's story for the full soak. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. A study out of Canada examined the results of blood tests on thousands of people injured in car accidents and concluded that having low levels of THC metabolites in your blood does not make it more likely that you will crash your car. That makes a lot of sense given that the measured amount of THC metabolites in your blood does not indicate at all how high you are at the current moment. Even so, it's nice to have the data here to back up the common sense conclusion. The study was conducted at the University of British Columbia. Pop over to OHS Canada for more. Medical marijuana cultivators in Rhode Island are criticizing a new proposed bill introduced late last week to expand the state's medical marijuana program. The state's existing licensed cultivators are not happy that the new plan will add 6 new vertically integrated companies in addition to the 3 dispensaries already open, rather than licensing dispensary-only operators who would then have to contract with growers to stock their shelves. And finally for today, Alexa Peters over at Leafly picked up on a new survey just conducted by the arthritis website Creaky Joints that finds that nearly 60% of people living with arthritis have tried medical marijuana, and that those that have, 90% said that it helped with pain. Alexa's article dives into the numbers in more detail, and she reached out to some of the patients from the survey to ask up follow-up questions, so it is definitely worth a read. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.